Any data should come with some kind of documentation, but very often it doesn't. There can be many reasons for this. The most common I can think of is when prototyping something, coders want to get it done first and document it later. So you may get something like this and be asked to do something with it. First step is to figure out what it means, and usually you either spend time figuring it out or ask that colleague to come explain. In either case, a lot of time goes for that. So I'll show you how to use large language models to speed things up. In this demo, I'll use the free version of Chat GPT, but things are advancing like crazy and there are many alternatives you can try. In any case, if you use this technique, be sure not to share any sensitive data with the LLMs, unless they run locally on your computer. Otherwise, you can get in trouble.
Gonna code, debug, and have fun. Coding with Radu. Coding with Radu. Gonna prototype and design. Coding with Radu. Coding with Radu. Let's code now. This is the data we'll be working with. You can get it from the link in the description. And you may recognize what this is if you've been following the channel, but we'll pretend that we have no idea what this is and try to use ChatGPT to help us out. So I'm going to copy everything here, go to ChatGPT and ask, can you please explain what this is? And I'm going to paste here everything from that other page. And let's see what it says. So it mentions this is a so-called JSON object representing drawing data. And that is true. The session here does act as a kind of unique identifier. The student, in this case Radu, is the name of the student who made the drawings. And for the drawings, we have them categorized by type. So there is one drawing for a fish, for a house, and for a tree. And all of these are array of arrays, where each inner array represents points defining the outline of a fish. This is true, but all of this information is something that you could get yourself from looking at data like this by studying it really, really closely. And in this case, large language models can be of help because you spare some time and you can just confirm, are these things really that or not, by looking at the explanation and then going back to the data and saying, yes, there is indeed the session attribute here and the student attribute, and the drawings seem to have different items here, the fish, and then probably somewhere else there is the tree and so on. But it's very hard to find, for example, the house was also hidden here in the data. It also told us the format of the file, this JSON. So you could look online, for example, for JSON formatter online. And let's paste the data also here. And we get it aligned in a nicer way like this. And we can also collapse things like the drawings object. We are collapsing it now. And then the fish, the house, the tree, and we can investigate each of these one by one. So for example, the fish is an array, another array, another array, and another array. So there are 4 arrays inside of this fish object, and then each of these contain array of 2 numbers. These are coordinates, at least according to what ChatGPT is saying. So each point is represented as x, y coordinates here. And it's true. So far it's been on track. And then, for example, in the fish array, the first array of points represents the outline of the fish. this is really just speculating. They are going to be different paths that have been drawn. Each of these arrays represents that sequence of points. And the second array represents additional details, possibly fins or features. It's probably true, but again, it's speculating about what these might mean visually there. And indeed, the same pattern happens for the house and the tree. Right, so far it's been of help because we didn't have to look at this and try to understand what all these numbers and symbols mean. It was able to figure out pretty much everything in an instant, and that's really the usefulness of it here. And it also told us what the format is called, and we could use this formatter we found online to get a better understanding of the data because we know in which format it is. We could also load this data in our code editor, for example. I'm using Visual Studio Code and I have here a project with just this info.txt file. And Visual Studio Code comes with a lot of different extensions. I'm using one for formatting JSON right here, and you can see that we are getting this same kind of structure as in that website, and I can collapse these different items here as well to inspect them. But let's see if we can use ChatGPT even more now that it knows what this data is like, and we are convinced about this fact. We can ask it to try to visualize the data. Maybe like so. Can you please help visualize this data somehow? I'm not going to specify any programming language. In the course, we did it in JavaScript, but let's see what happens here. Seems to be using Python and a library called matplotlib. And what it's doing here, it's actually typing line by line the contents of those drawings, which is not really great. I mean, it probably is going to work, but you don't want to have so many hard-coded values in your code base. And then it's doing something here. It's writing some code to visualize these using the matplotlib library. Now I do have this matplotlib library installed because I'm teaching it in some courses. But if you don't know what that is, then you could ask it how to get the matplotlib library and how to install Python actually, because maybe you don't have it installed. So these kind of questions are something that it can help find answers to as well. And let's just see real quick. Yeah, proper website. It says to add the Python to the path, so you can type commands anywhere, and then pip also comes when you install Python, and it says, yeah, this is how you install matplotlib. It's the same information that you get if you Google, for example, matplotlib, and probably one of the first things here in getting started, you're going to get explanations about how to install matplotlib. Now, let's see, did this code really work? I have those things installed. What happens if I'm going to copy this in my code base? In a Python file, I'm just going to create a new file here, prog.py, short for program, and let's paste it here, save, and run, and hope for the best. Wow, okay, it did something. Not really what I was expecting. what it did is it overlapped all of these different drawings on top of each other. So you can maybe tell the shape of the fish here. This blue line is there, but it overlaps with the house, and it's not really a nice visualization, but it is a visualization, something that maybe you can take this code um, and polish it a little bit, maybe create multiple plots. If you know how Matplotlib works, you would know how to do that using this as a starting base. So really useful. But again, I have issues with the code, and I think we can use ChatGPT to help make it better as well. For example, I don't want to have the drawings hard coded like this. I want it to read them from this info file. So I'm going to go here and ask, can you please update the code to read the information from a file called info.txt? And hopefully it's not going to do those hard-coded things there anymore. And it does look shorter. It doesn't have those annoying things pasted here. It does read it from a file, and it's using a new import here. Now, I'm not going to ask it questions about this JSON. I'm just going to tell you that the JSON package is already installed. I mean, it's available natively in Python, so you don't need to install anything for it. It will just work if we paste this code instead of the previous one. And it says to make sure that info text is in the same directory as the Python script. And let's just copy this and replace it here. Save and restart. And it works as before. Now, let's do something about this overlapping drawings here and see if ChatGPT could help us out with that. Now the drawings overlap. Can you please display them side by side? Okay, it's using subplots apparently, which should be okay. And let's see what happens with this code. Wow, okay, much better. There are some bugs here. I see them at least, and they tend to happen when you make updates, incremental updates to code like that. You realize that maybe this legend now is kind of stupid here. It just says tree, tree, tree. And this is not a tree. This is very useful to find out that this drawing data is actually wrong for the tree item. And without visualizing it, you could just trust that the data is what it's claiming to be, and whatever you do with it, it's going to be wrong, and it's going to affect the quality of the software that you make. So visualizing things like this is really useful, and you should always do it to avoid weird bugs, glitches in your code in the future. I don't want this to have these dots. I want to keep just the lines, and there are very many colors, and this legend, we don't need it anymore. Let's see if it can help us with that as well. Keep just the lines, remove the dots, and use a single color, black. And there is no need for a legend anymore. Let's take this new code. And it pretty much looks exactly as I wanted. Now, let's see what happens if we get some new data. Here at this new link, we have something very similar as before, but a little bit different. You can see the student name is different and the drawings are different things. So if we just copy this and use it instead of the other data, will it work? I'm going to create here a new file, new info.txt. In it, let's paste this, what I copied from the website, and update here the code to read from new info.txt and run. And we get an error because the code that was written previously by Chat GPT is considering these specific items which don't exist anymore. So the code is not general enough. We could fix it ourselves or maybe ask Chat GPT to do it. Can you please update the code so it's more general and works with this file as well? It seems to be doing what I expected. It's doing a loop for the drawings, for the items inside of the drawings. And let's just see what we get. I'm going to copy the code, paste it here. And it has written info here. It assumes we read from the same file as before. Let's actually try it to see if we get the same result as previously. And not exactly. You see, the first three still show here, but the code is preparing a fourth drawing there, even though it doesn't exist. So somehow here, this might be the reason. If I change this with new info, it shows these other drawings as well. And it seems to be good enough. I mean, sure, it prepares now to show 4 different drawings. This is something that you could generalize. Maybe we can ask it to do it. And maybe we would like things to look nicer, like have the same aspect ratio for these plots here. Can you please make it so that the number of drawings is variable and the plots have a fixed aspect ratio of 400 times 400. You can see here it takes the number of drawings as a parameter. And then it sets the X and Y to this specific size because I know the size of the canvas that was used when drawing these. Okay, seems good. Let's try copying it. Oh, wow, the drawings are upside down. Okay, something is wrong, but you can see that now it shows just 3 drawings here for info.txt and new info.txt. Looks good as well. But this flipping happens because when I implemented the drawing app, the Y grows downwards like so. And here you can see it visualizes like what mathematicians use going upwards. So this is probably how it's trying to fix it. Okay, it looks now pretty much exactly just the way I want it. I can't think how to make this more useful than it is. And it was useful. We were able to inspect some data that lacked documentation, and we were able to notice, visualizing the data, that part of it is not what we expect. This is not a tree. So data cleaning in this case would be necessary. And I do have a section on data cleaning in my other course. Check it out if interested. And you can see the course as well if you want to learn how to make a drawing recognizer. Thanks for watching and see you guys.